Hello, Elea.
Hi, Sophie.
You work as a project officer at the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program. In this tutorial, I would like to ask you a few questions about the program objective on circular economy. So, Elea, can you tell me why our program has an objective focusing on this topic?
As you know, our program seeks to contribute to a steady growth of the region, but without increasing pressure on the environment or communities. This cannot be done without a transition towards a circular economy.
And what exactly does circular economy mean?
It means keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible. Circular economy is an approach towards using, recycling, and reusing resources. In this objective, our projects will facilitate a shift from linear to circular resource use. But they will go beyond waste management and will also connect with water, energy, transport, and land use. This will require a change in behaviours and a solid integrated planning between all sectors. It will also require a stronger role of cities and regions and imply to rethink the contribution of businesses.
Why is the transition to a circular approach so important?
As the Baltic Sea region has one of the world's largest ecological footprints per capita, the management of available resources is crucial. BSR countries use more and more resources and generate more and more waste. Moving from a linear to a circular consumption and production has great potential to lower the emissions. Expanding circular economy can have a valuable impact on climate change mitigation.
Can you think of a potential project which could fit here?
Yes, a potential project could bring waste producers and potential reusers together with a focus on a certain industry, for example, the electronic industry. This project could pilot a model solution to help design centers to better support companies. The aim of this support could, for instance, be the redesign of electronic products so that they become easier to dismantle and easier to recycle. Ideally, the project would consider the various developments in participating regions and would bring together more advanced regions and starters in the topic.
Whom will our circular economy projects target?
They will target public authorities at local, regional, and even national levels, if needed. We also encourage involving citizens through NGOs as well as the business sector, mainly through business support organizations. But they can also involve businesses directly, for example, when testing specific solutions. It might be needed to have the support from specialized agencies and infrastructure and service providers from key sectors like transport, water, energy, and waste management. Combining competences of different sectors is the key. Higher education and research institutions, as well as education and training centers, may join to support the main target groups with additional expertise, for example, in awareness building or with technical expertise.
What challenges do these groups face?
Circular economy is still limited to some organizations, which, for example, test business models or products to ensure a greater lifespan of resources. There is room for improvement in the BSR, for instance, by creating common norms and systemizing approaches. BSR organizations lack joint solutions across sectors. Sectors with high environmental impact like IT, electronics, textiles, furniture, food, etc., could benefit from such a holistic perspective. Authorities have an important role to play in the transition from linear to circular economy. There is a need to remove administrative and legal barriers to agree on common BSR standards whenever it is possible. Authorities need to further build their capacity to apply sustainable procurement approaches. Circularity should also be integrated in urban and regional planning processes with a special attention to territorial specificities. For instance, inner cities could be reclaimed as high-quality spaces for new working and living experiences. Only a minority of the BSR regions has put emphasis on digitalization as an accelerator of nonlinear development. There is a need to explore potentials of digital models based on common standards. Because of demographic developments in the BSR, the transition towards circularity has to consider the needs of vulnerable groups. This means that the transition needs to go hand in hand with the empowerment of citizens so that they make informed choices.
How can our future projects deal with circular economy?
Projects will need to create an environment allowing for circular opportunities. It will be important to raise awareness about circular economy, to create opportunities for businesses, as well as environmental and societal benefits. Projects may coordinate and support initiatives coming from businesses or the civil society, which promote circular economy and support a change in attitudes. Raising awareness among business executives, business owners, and consumers can be one way of promoting circular economy.
Earlier you mentioned digitalization as an accelerator in the transition. How can projects work with digital technologies?
Working with businesses can include the application of digital technologies to transform business models from linear to circular, for example, to match suppliers and producers, track the journey of components and materials, or help virtualize products. Digital technologies have a great potential to play an important role in the transition.
You refer to actions with businesses and the civil society, but among the target groups we also had public authorities, right?
Yes, projects can also support public authorities in this transition, for example, by testing new public procurement models. Projects might also need to rethink urban and regional planning processes in the key sectors I mentioned earlier in order to adopt better and more integrated systemic approaches. To rethink planning processes, projects would also need to involve public authorities.
Talking about the sectors you mentioned, which are waste management, water, energy, transport, and land use, could you provide an example of action combining various sectors?
An example could be the testing of solutions that create synergies between bio and circular economy, supporting industrial symbiosis through the use of waste material from the forest industry by companies in different sectors. These sectors are not limited to the ones I mentioned.
Can projects also target smart specialization approaches?
Absolutely. Projects can, for example, contribute to redefining smart specialization approaches to advance the shift towards circularity. Projects could integrate circular economy policies into territorial strategies and test their implementation, linking them to other relevant regional and national strategies, for example, smart specialization strategies. Projects can create solutions in line with the different competences of cities and regions.
You mentioned different competences. Should projects consider these differences?
Yes, we are not all equal in the transition towards circular economy. Therefore, there might be a need to work with those who are less advantaged by the transition process. When there are uneven territorial effects, for example, between urban and rural areas, or characteristics of remote areas, projects should take them into account.
Would you have any example of a project which already dealt with circular economy?
Yes, we had a project which promoted circular public procurement, considering the life cycle of products throughout the supply chain. The project developed tools and enabled exchanges and capacity building among procurers, suppliers, and policymakers for circular products. The project also piloted real-life procurement processes and published guidelines on improvement potentials and learnings. It actively involved the main stakeholders in various event formats, which led to a reflected and multifaceted perspective on the topic. This made a change possible in the approach of participating regions.
This brings us to the end of our tutorial on the program objective on circular economy. Thanks a lot for your explanations, Elia.